Hi guys, this is Allison from Youth Alive. Today I'm going to talk about the power of prayer. Did you know that prayer is like dynamite? It is so explosive and so powerful. Matter of fact, in James 5:16 it says, "Tremendous power is released through the passionate, heartfelt prayer of a godly believer." Prayer has power. And the more people who are praying together, the more powerful it is. In Matthew 18, Jesus said, "When two of you on earth agree about something you are praying for, my Father in heaven will do it for you." God honors it when two of us are in unity together and agreeing together. Today I'm going to tell you a story about the power of prayer. And the main character in the story is Peter, one of Jesus' 12 disciples. He lived and traveled with Jesus. And this story takes place after Jesus died, after he rose, and after he went back into heaven. So there was a king at the time called Herod. He was a nasty guy, and he caused terrible suffering to the church. He killed one of the leaders called James with the sword. And he was trying to do that to make the Jewish people happy. And then he decided to go after another leader called Peter. And he put Peter in prison just for his faith because he had done nothing wrong. And he just wanted to remove all the church leaders to make the Jews happy. And it happened to be that he arrested him around the time of the Jewish holiday called Passover. And so his trial there were a few days when he was not going to be on trial. So that he had a little bit of time. And there were he was put into this prison and he was given 4 teams with 4 soldiers each, as though he were a terrible criminal. And because they were afraid he was going to escape. Well, the church gathered together, and they've already lost one important leader, and now they're about to lose a second leader. They're gathering together and they're going to pray very hard, intensely for God to help him. They were focused and they prayed with all their hearts, and they kept on praying because this was a crisis. Well, Peter, as I said, there was a little time to do that. Now, it's the night before he's going to be brought out and die. And so, Peter, amazingly, thanks to their prayers, is sleeping peacefully. Would you be sleeping peacefully if you knew you were going to be killed the next day? He was chained to 2 soldiers, and there were 2 guards outside the door. But he was not afraid. Suddenly, in the midst of this, a bright light comes into the cell. An angel comes into the cell. An angel touches Peter on the side to wake him up, and Peter's chains fell off. The angel said, "Hurry, get dressed, and bring your cloak." "Follow me," the angel says. Peter didn't know if it was real. He thought he was having a dream or having a vision. So he follows the angel. There are all these guards in the prison. We don't know what happened with the guards, but either God froze them, put them in a deep sleep, blinded them, we don't know. But all we know is that it was a miracle and no one stopped Peter. He went through the first guard and then a second guard. They get outside the prison, and then there's this big old iron gate. Now this picture doesn't really do it justice, but I'm sure it was much bigger than this picture. This big iron gate would have stopped them from going anywhere, but it opened for them all by itself. It was a miracle. They walked down one street, and then as suddenly as the angel came, he left. Wow. Peter kind of came to himself. He says, "Whoa, that wasn't a dream. It wasn't a vision. It was real." And he realized, oh, I'm not too far from Mary's house. That's where they often meet for prayer. I think I'll go and say hi to Mary. The house house is full of his friends, and they are praying as that miracle is happening. They have probably been praying all night. It's probably the middle of the night, and they're still praying. Wow. A maid called Rhoda answers the door. She recognized Peter's voice because he probably often came there to pray himself. She was excited and ran to tell everyone and left Peter at the gate, didn't let him in. She goes, "Peter's here." "You're crazy," they said. They didn't know how powerful their prayers were. They said it must be his angel. Peter kept knocking. "Let me in, let me in." Finally, they all came to the gate. They were amazed. I'm sure they were going crazy. "Wow, I can't believe it's you." They're hugging him. Finally, Peter calms them all down. And he told them his story. When God does a miracle, it's important to talk about it, to give our testimony. And so he told them the amazing things that the angel had done before he left them. And he went to another place, and I'm sure he was hiding. The next morning at the prison, Peter was gone. What? 16 soldiers? And they can't even, keep one guy under control? The guards didn't know where he was, and Herod had them killed. Unfortunately, those poor innocent people were killed. But God brought justice to Herod in his time. One day he was sitting on his throne, and the people were calling him God. And he let himself be worshipped. "Yes, yes, call me God." And an angel struck him down. He was eaten by worms, and he died. It sounds very horrible. God brought justice in God's time. Prayer is very, very powerful. We can see that God sometimes answers prayer by sending angels to help us. Angels are real. And prayer can result in miracles like this iron gate coming open. Group prayer is even more powerful. This is an amazing miracle that happened when the people joined their faith together. What miracle do you need? Have faith and pray. Find a friend or a group that you can pray with, and tap in to the amazing power of prayer. Amen.